I will never understand players that come to a new table with a bunch of strangers and choose to role play some cringy, weird stuff. It's weird. It's creepy. I don't think I will ever understand it because I can't get into the mindset of a person that would do that. And to think that it's a good idea, it's a bad move. The one I have for you today has a new player only knowing one person at the table, deciding in his second session of D&D ever to role play as a grimy dude that has trouble taking a hint. Things get pretty weird. With that being said, I do want to give a content warning for SA in this one. So, without further ado, I'm Big Jesse. Let's get into it. My coworker wanted to try out D&D, so I invited him to my game and helped him set up a character. The first session, mostly combat, went okay. He kept saying he was new every 10 to 15 minutes, but overall it wasn't that bad. Now for his second session, however, he doesn't start off great, interrupting the DM while he's trying to do a previous session recap. He was continuously asking questions that the DM was already trying to explain without any prompt. He then began arguing with the party about what to do because he wanted to XP farm. The problem with that is we're a milestone campaign. Eventually, we convinced him to go to the ship at the docks for our mission, where he immediately threatened to kill the first mate NPC for no reason and only backed off after being told he would be destroyed. He then decided it would be a good move to start hitting on the captain. At this point, I pulled him aside and let him know that D&D was not the place to play out his sexual fantasies. He said okay, which only lasted until he started hitting on the helmsman. He then proceeded to locate her room, break in, and search through her things so he could, get this, find something to talk to her about. Ugh. Gross. That's a gross, weird choice. So while looking through all her personal items in her room, he found a picture of her and her husband. Now, with this newfound information and my earlier warning, this was the end of that, right? I mean, that would only be the logical outcome, so of course he stopped. Nope. He still proceeded to hit on her. So how this is reading right now is this player is starting to become a disruption. And to me, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think that this would be a great time to pause the game, take a little break and have a discussion. This is a brand new player that has never played D&D, and you can use this moment as a teachable moment. And if we take the totality of the situation, we can see that there are several problems that happen through the course of this second session. So what I see with this players is that they remind me of somebody that probably played a lot of video games and now is playing D&D like a video game. And there were a few red flags, like the argument at the beginning where they wanted to XP farm, which is a meta decision. And then immediately after meeting the first mate, they wanted to attack them for no reason and having no narrative backing to that. And those together kind of spell it out for me. This is just my opinion, is all speculation, but I mean, it really does seem that way. And you could use this moment to explain to them that those decisions are meta and that actions do have consequences, and I don't think this player knows that at this point. So having that discussion with them and letting them know what being meta is and role playing is and the differences between them, it's a very important explanation that all new players should have. And having that discussion really sets you up so that as the DM you get to ask that fallback question that we ask players from time to time, and that is, now is that an action that you want to take, or is that an action that your character wants to take? Now, as far as the second part of this, I'm a DM where not this was gross and weird, but I mean, like, if you want to be a little flirty or hit on the NPCs or whatever, like, I'm cool with that, but not every DM is. And this player should have taken a hint at the table that this was making others feel a little uncomfortable and kind of reading the room to realize that they don't know anyone at the table and they're choosing to go down this path. Not only that, they got warned for it and then doubled down by sneaking into the helmsman's room, and then the DM kind of laid it out right there. There was a picture of her and her husband, so boom, bada bing, that's the end of that. And instead, he still decides to go ahead with it. So pausing here and having the discussion to set solid boundaries and make sure that player understands that this isn't going to be something that is tolerated at this table, so that no more weird, creepy shit happens moving forward. I mean, this guy, honestly, this guy is like the D&D equivalent to the dude that goes into like a 10-year dive into somebody's Facebook so that they can try to find similarities to talk to it's weird. I mean, it is worse because that's a public forum. This is a bit I don't know. All right. Hey, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. It's free. All right. This has gotten out of hand. Let's get back into it. The DM threatened him, ignored him, and flat out refused to participate. It came to a head when the player decided a distraction was needed and he would take one for the team. His words. And gross. He went and forcefully kissed the helmsman, who turns out to be a badass. He was warned. She swiftly plunges a blade through his heart, slumping his body in a heap. Unconscious on the deck, his body flopped back and forth with the creak of the ship and the rolling waves, and while performing his death saving throws, he was still trying to hit on her. The DM decided to give him one more chance and allowed him to be stabilized. The player was secured below deck and continued to try to do stuff even though he was unconscious. Eventually, he gets up a day later and immediately goes back to the helmsman who had been injured in combat and heals her, saying, "You owe me one." The DM called it a night, and I will not be calling my coworker for next session. So I already flapped my gums enough during the episode, so I will keep this short and sweet. A good rule of thumb is that if it's here in the real world, an SA crime, don't do it. Just maybe don't RP that, because I don't, that's gross, and it's not good at any table. Don't do it. Secondly, another rule of thumb is if you are new to a table, maybe feel out the group before you start trying to RP some flirty stuff and hitting on people to make sure everybody's okay with it. Or better yet, during gameplay, there's nothing wrong with checking in on people. So if you come across a point in time where you would like to do something like this, and you perceive it to be fine, maybe just check in with everybody at the table and do a little OOC moment to be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Does anybody have any issues with that? Because I just don't understand why you would be brand new to a table and just go like all in like that. Like, ugh, that's a pretty big red flag if you ask me. Let me know down in the comments whether you agree or disagree. And if you want to support the channel, the easiest way is to give this video a like and consider subscribing. It's free. Now, if you have a story of your own you'd like to share, or if you wanted to recommend one you'd like to hear me do, or if you just wanted to say hi, come join the Big Jesse Discord. Link is in the description. I'm Big Jesse, and thank you so much for watching. Later.